So we're back, and I am still Stanley the shittest Wellman Williams. Today we are covering a great franchise. It's a little bit different. We're just going to do, like we did with the Marvel movies, the most to least. So that's the Rocky series, including the Creed movies, and we're doing most to least winnable fights. So we're going to go through the fights that Rocky and Adonis have and look at which one I think I would be able to win, and then go down to the one that I think I would lose in a matter of seconds, which is arguably all of them. Now, let's be clear, I did do a little bit of boxercise about 5 years ago, and I did that for about 3 months. So I'm not completely inexperienced. I'm just inexperienced in all the other ways. But I do think that I could catch a chicken if it was running around. Now, to begin with, let's just clarify that I don't think I could actually win against any of these people. It's just some of them are going to be more difficult than others to fight against. And I'll give a little bit of a reason why and say a little bit of what tactics I would use if I could use tactics at all. These guys all outweigh, outskill, outspeed, out battle smart me. So we're not looking to last 12 rounds. We're not even looking to get a knockout. We're just looking at which I think will be the most winnable to the least winnable. So the person that I think out of all the Rocky movies, Rockies 1 through 6 and Creed 1 and 2, that I think I have the best chance of beating in a boxing match is Spider Rico. Now, sure, he's only in it very briefly and we see Rocky beat him, which is why I've put him in, to be honest, because I felt like I needed one that I feel like I'd have at least a tiny bit of a chance against to start it off. Spider Rico, he's a brawler. He's pretty tough, and he survives through to Rocky 6. So he's not going to be bad, and by no means do I think, like I say, I would actually stand a chance. But he's the person I think is most winnable. He seems a little bit underground because it's an underground fight, so I think I could at least dodge a little bit, maybe throw a couple of punches. It's not the best, but I threw him in there because, let's be honest, he's not a bum, but he's a bum. Okay, so we're moving on to the next most winnable fight, and I think this is just going to go to show how difficult I think the rest of the fights are going to be, because up next we have Mason Dixon from Rocky 6. Sure, he is definitely going to win, but the reason I put him so low is because he's a little bit past his prime, and not only that, but he's the heavyweight champion in a time that there's not a lot of competition. That's one of the main thrusts of his sort of story in Rocky 6, that no one really thinks that he is a worthy champion. He's not as good as Rocky. There's a simulation that means that he loses in that, so that's why they sort of fight in this exhibition match. And again, it's an exhibition match, so it's not going to be as tough. It's still going to be tough, but Mason Dixon doesn't seem like he's got exactly the same stopping power as some of the other ones. He's skilled and he's speedy, but he doesn't have those punches that are going to drop you as fast as the other ones. So that's why Mason Dixon from number 6 is going to be the second most beatable Rocky foe. So moving on. This one might come as a bit of a surprise to you guys, but we've got Apollo Creed in the first Rocky. So the first fight against Apollo Creed. Now, he's at his prime. He's the heavyweight champion. Those are all incredible reasons why he's very difficult to fight. But, and like he does with Rocky, he doesn't put in all of his effort. He doesn't train completely like he should. He underestimates Rocky. And he showboats, and he's got that ego about him. So the fact that he doesn't take it completely seriously, because he's almost sure of his win before he's won, is why Rocky does so well, apart from Rocky obviously being an absolute motorboat in willpower. But this underestimation is going to be even more against me, because Apollo is going to be like, well, why are we even doing this? And therefore I might be able to get 1 or 2 punches in on him. So that's why I've got Rocky from Rocky 1, that fight, next. Okay, so just throwing this one in here because it's not quite proper, but it's a little bit easier than Spider Rico, more difficult than Spider Rico. We have Thunder Lips, played by Hulk Hogan. And this is a boxer versus wrestler sort of exhibition charity match, so it's going to be a little bit easier than some of the other ones coming up. But Hulk Hogan, playing Thunder Lips in this, goes a little bit rough. He's a little bit tough, but he is big and he's slow. He seems like Rocky dances around him, and Rocky's definitely faster than me, but I reckon I'm a little bit littler than him. I can sort of dodge and dip, duck, dodge and dive. So I might not have the biggest tough time with this one. But if Hulk Hogan gets his hands on me, you can be sure he'll be smelling dookie. That's a reference to a different movie, which is a not very good movie. Rattling in next is Tommy the Machine Gunn. Now he's got Tommy Gunn is a super cool name. We can't deny that. That's just something that we're going to have to put up with. I'm sure it's not his real name, but sure. The reason I put this here is because it's an outside brawl. It's not in a ring. There's no rules. I can throw some dirt in his eyes. I can maybe give him a bin lid to the head. Go for the patented Stanley charge. Now, you may not know about that because I've never mentioned it here before, but I have mentioned it on my website. It's where I basically just go for a charge. It's just a charge, but it's called the Stanley charge, and it'll take out at least one or two people. Probably not Tommy Gunn. But the reason he's lower down than some of the others is just because he can also go dirty. It's not like he's following the rules and I'm not. We're both not following the rules, but I still think that gives me a better chance than against who's coming up. Okay, next we have Ricky Conlan from Creed 1. Just the reason that I'm putting him here is because he's light heavyweight, and I think that for some reason means that I'm going to do better. I know it doesn't, and I'm completely inexperienced, so him fighting a completely inexperienced fighter, especially because he's quite experienced in the movie, he's still going to fucking trounce me, but I do think that means that here is a safe, relatively sensible position to put him in. Like I said, I'm not going to win, but Ricky Conlan goes here. Okay, so we're getting into the big hitters now, the main points. And so next we have Apollo Creed, fight number 2, so from Rocky 2. This one, Apollo's taking it a little bit more seriously. His ego's been bruised because everyone says that he even though he won, he didn't really win against Rocky. Rocky was the underdog by a long way, lasted 12 rounds. And Apollo takes this one a little bit more seriously. So does Rocky. Rocky has been having a good time, but he knows that he's a fighter, and this fight really gets him back into it. Some great montages. But I feel like this is a lot more difficult for me than the first fight against Apollo, purely because that ego's not there as much. He's angry. He wants a fight. That anger is the main reason that I'm putting him a little bit lower than some of the others, because once your emotions are involved, if I can sort of draw on that and sort of goad him a little bit, I think that I can sort of do some work. But I mean, it's going to be a tough chance, because if he's angry, he probably hit harder. So I mean, it's a tough one for sure. I pity the fool who has to fight Clubber Lang. Now, Clubber Lang is from Rocky 3, and he is a beast. I mean, he trains like initial Rocky trains. He's down and dirty. He's a beast. He will go at you, and he will keep going at you, and he won't stop. He's remorseless. He's the third most difficult Rocky fighter to fight, in my opinion. The only thing that I can think is that his defense isn't exactly, like, he's not the best defender. I mean, none of these people are particularly great at defense. They're more sluggers. So if I can get one or two punches in, one punch can make all the difference. I mean, if you've watched MMA or some boxing, if your defense is down and someone just throws a Hail Mary, that can make the difference. But I mean, Clubber Lang, Mr. T, what a foe. And I mean, if I've not had a chance against the other ones, I've got zero chance here. And then just imagine the next two. Like, less than zero chance of winning. is not great on my ego, and that's why the bruised ego might work well here. That's just a callback. But yeah, Clubber Lang at this one. So if you've been paying attention, you can probably guess that the next two least beatable Rocky foes / Creed foes are linked. So at number 2, so I don't think I could beat this guy more than I don't think I could beat Clubber Lang, is Victor Drago. So Victor Drago is a fucking huge mammoth of a man, and he hits so hard that it's almost unbelievable. He trains ridiculously. He puts Adonis in hospital, spoilers, and almost ruins his whole career. So, I mean, that's Adonis. Adonis isn't a slouch. Michael B. Jordan, fucking hench and just fit. And then me going up against Victor Drago. Now, let's be honest. It might as well be a bear fighting a child. There's no way. But there's one man who I think I couldn't beat even more. I think I've got a better chance against Victor Drago than the number 1 spot. So there's one man who is scarier than all of the other ones. One man who technically physics don't really seem to make sense with him in terms of the stats that the Russians give. One man that can take out a heavyweight champion with his bare hands and not even care. If he dies, he dies. That's right. The number 1 least beatable villain, well, not even villain, foe, is Ivan Drago from Rocky IV. Now, I don't even know where to begin with this. He is just the perfect specimen of a man. Rocky has to trade, they have to have 32% montage in this movie. From what I remember, 50% of the last 50 minutes of this movie are montage to get Rocky to a point where he can beat Ivan. And the only reason he beats him is because of his willpower, which he has If Rocky was a Green Lantern, let's be honest, he would be the most powerful Green Lantern in the world. Maybe there's a comic of that. And his American spirit, just those two things together allow him to put Ivan down and end the Cold War. Now, me being British and much tinier than Rocky, well, I say much tinier, but smaller in terms of muscle than Rocky, us British people, our willpower is sort of more tied up in complaining and sort of wry humour. You may not notice from these videos, but that's sort of the British thing. So I feel like that's not necessarily going to translate into a boxing match against almost the perfect boxer. But that's basically it. Ivan Drago is he killed Apollo Creed. He killed him. So I had a chance to calm down from speaking about Ivan. But there we have it. The most winnable to least winnable fights in Rocky. I've used myself as a stand-in, but I think that list is pretty good in terms of anyone. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at SOTS website or in the comments here. Do you think one of the Dragos is easier to beat than Spider Rico, for example? Do you think Tommy Gunn is too high, too low? Mason Dixon, I put him pretty low, but maybe you really like him. We don't know. Well, I don't know until you tell me. But, I mean, the Rocky franchise, I've rewatched them over the last few weeks, and I thought 5 and 6 were bad, and then I rewatched them, and I actually really enjoyed them. They're not the best of the movies. That's Rocky 4. As you can probably tell, I have a big love. It's just the amount of montage and the amount of bangers on that soundtrack are just incredible. It's the perfect 80s movie. It's got a robot. It's got Paulie. It's got training in Russia. What more do you want from a movie? But this list isn't indicative of the movies themselves. It's not a ranking of the movies. It's the ranking of how winnable the fights are. I mean, they're all actually really good. And I'd always contend that Rocky 1 is a romance movie first and a boxing movie second. Rocky and Adrian is one of the loves that everyone would want. Truth be told, if you don't want a Rocky Adrian love, then you're not for me. But there we go. Those are the Rocky movies. So thanks for watching the video. As always, like, comment, subscribe. I'm getting a few decent little views. Not loads, but I appreciate every single one. And just hit me up on Twitter at SOTS website. I've got a website as well called survivaloftheshittest.com, which shows you loads of, like, quite a substantial amount of movies from horror to action and how much I think I would survive them. I was going to do Incredible Hulk for this weekend, so that's still on the cards. I just haven't watched it yet. Well, we rewatched it, so look forward to that, and hopefully I will see you again. Cheers. Stay shit.